conventions, an event in which thousands of people with a shared interest gather together to celebrate that said shared interest, such as Star Wars Celebration, the many LEGO-centric conventions, and by far the most popular, Comic-Con, because apparently liking nerdy things is cool now. At these events, the attendees have the opportunity to escape the harshness of the real world and dress up as their favourite fictional characters, or cosplay as the kids say it nowadays. Along with meeting other like-minded people, attendees of these conventions could also have the chance to meet their favourite celebrities who attend these events, for a pretty price of course. And I did exactly that. I went to Comic-Con. No, not that one. That one is way too far and way too expensive. I instead went to the closest Comic-Con to me, that being Dublin Comic-Con. This wasn't my first time attending the event, as I did attend a March show earlier this year, in which I had the perfect idea of cosplaying as Ash Ketchum. Hey, I never said it was a good cosplay. Oh yeah, that's what I look like by the way. Now I don't want to hear anyone complain because I'm the one who will have to look at this ugly mug for hours upon hours of editing, so truly, I'm the real victim here. All I can really do is apologise for crushing all of your visions of me being an incredibly handsome hunk. When in reality, I'm just your average white guy who cares way too much about a children's toy. Anyways, my terrible self-image aside, I would say I quite enjoyed attending my very first convention. Apparently my intervention doesn't count. It was great to be surrounded by so many people that shared the same interests as myself. There was even a LEGO stand where I could waste all of my money, along with a really cool large-scale replica of the iconic Ecto-1. And you can't forget all of the wonderful cosplays, like Walter White. But by far the highlight of the entire event was crossing paths with a Monkey Kid cosplay. I totally did not expect this to happen, and it was worth the price of admission alone. I only attended the con on one of its 2 days, so I kinda felt like I was missing out on the Sunday I didn't attend. Apparently this is actually a thing called PCD, Post-Con Depression, or Post-Crystallized Depression, both work. And so I decided to attend both days for the summer event, and this time, I did it in style, which, as you can tell by the thumbnail and title of this video, involved me spending hours, days, weeks, and even months crafting a Ninjago Skybound Jay cosplay. Well, I never said it was good. Before I begin to go into meticulous detail about this bootleg Halloween costume, as that's really what you're all here for, I first have to give a massive shout out to this person here on Instagram. As if it weren't for their helpful tips, I would never have achieved my dream of becoming Skybound Jay. Man, I gotta get better dreams. I mean, just look at this same cosplay. It is literally perfect and straight up Ninjago in real life. Absolutely incredible work. They even made the staff. So once again, huge thanks to them, as my idiot self would never have been able to create my own Ninjago cosplay without their help. I should also give a special thanks to user Lightning Virus on DeviantArt, as I did use this fantastic piece of art as a sort of reference for what the Skybound Gi would look like in the real world. Now for this cosplay, I was actually originally going to do the pilot suit, as I felt like it was a really good one to start with. Being the very first outfit worn by Jay and the other ninja means it was incredibly plain and simple of a design, so how hard could it be to translate to real life? I mean hey, LEGO did it, so why can't I? And then I remembered the hood, which I could only assume would be very uncomfortable to wear while walking around a very crowded and very suspicious smelling convention. Keep in mind, anime fans were here too. After a little bit of thinking about this strange dilemma, it finally hit me right in the face. Why don't I recreate Skybound Jay? It only makes sense. Skybound is my favourite season, and Jay is my favourite Ninjago character, so Skybound Jay it was. I basically started planning this little project right after the March convention, creating a terrible set of drawings to figure out how certain parts of the outfit would be made. Let's start with what was the easiest part of the cosplay to make, the eye patch, because all I did was buy it off of Amazon. If I wanted to make this cosplay somewhat official, I could have used the officially released Ninjago Sky-powered eye patch. Within the show and the minifigure, Jay features a dark blue eye patch, and so I simply bought a dark blue eye patch from Amazon. I didn't really wear the eye patch for most of the convention however. It was hard enough moving around at 2 eyes, so with one, it would be impossible. Also, this is way more accurate because Jay only wore his eye patch for 5 seconds before throwing it away, and then magically having it back again in the final episode. That is one magic eye patch. To recreate these blue knots on the knee areas of the gi, I bought this roll of royal blue satin nylon trim cord off of Amazon, and with a pair of handy dandy scissors, I cut 2 pieces to be tied just above my knees, which left me with an entire roll left which I have no idea what to do with. Maybe my loan shark will accept it, who knows. Well, I was actually able to use a little more of the nylon trim cord with the boots, which was one of the hardest parts of the cosplay to get. To decide what kind of footwear would work best for this early Halloween costume, I actually had to do some research on what actual ninja from Japan wore, with the most common type being a split-toe design called tabi boots. There's also the option of wearing these sort of Japanese sandals that LEGO have used before on the ninjas' outfits, but they didn't look very comfortable or practical, so the boots it was. It took me quite a while to track down a fairly priced pair, searching all of Amazon and even considering a pair off eBay. I finally managed to find a pair and they arrived in this very interesting box with a cool ninja slapped on. The company is called Playwell Martial Arts, and I'm pretty sure Playwell is the Danish translation of Lego, which is a neat little coincidence. The boots are great quality, but have the very noticeable detail of being white on the inside, which somewhat showed through while wearing them, which is a bit of a shame. They also weren't exactly as tight as I would have liked, so grabbing my abundance of nylon trim cord, I made 2 more strands which I tied around the top half of the boots to keep them fully secured, which, as you can tell in this photo, they didn't really hold up as well as I thought they would have. I would later regret my decision of footwear, but you'll hear about that later on in the video. Moving on from the boots that made me look like I had Ninja Turtle feet, we have the more interesting parts of the cosplay, all of the lovely craftsmanship put into the torso. First, let's start with the belt, another item bought from Amazon, being this royal blue satin ribbon, cut up just enough to be tied around my waist. As part of the Skybound gi, all of the ninja have these gold pieces attached to their belts, so of course I had to find a way to add it to the outfit. So grabbing some leftover ribbon, I simply measured and cut off 2 pieces to be used. But what about the gold detail itself? Well, for that, I had to turn my attention over to the wonderful world of foam, purchasing a very large sheet of EVA foam. Handing it over to an actually competent friend, they were able to perfectly cut out the shape needed and even painted the 2 pieces gold. And with a handy dandy hot glue gun, I combined the 4 pieces into the 2 attachments which I simply tied around the belt. Now to discuss one of the more interesting parts of the cosplay, the torso itself, which I will first point out is not fully accurate. As you can clearly see, the cosplay is missing the iconic 3 golden clasps across the torso. Unfortunately, I just wasn't able to make this possible, as the top I used as the base required buttons to be worn, which I painted gold to somewhat substitute for it. I could have maybe painted the clasps on, but I really wanted them to be 3D, with my idea being to use golden jewellery or these Chinese frog claps I bought, which ended up being useless in the end. They're pretty poor quality, so maybe it was for the best. Skybound Jay deserves only the best. I'm sure if you were actually smart, you could have found a way to translate the clasps to reality, but I'm not, so I simply settled for painting the silver buttons to gold. You know what, I like this change. It makes this cosplay feel like my own design, or like the Legacy Edition, and also the copyright free version. To recreate the blue outline across the torso, I grabbed some leftover ribbon and had it sewn down the front of the top. And now we have the most important part of the outfit, the Airjitsu symbols on the front and the back. As I do not have a single artistic bone in my body, I handed the top over to the same friend from before, who masterfully recreated the 2 symbols on the front and back. With the freshly applied paint job done, that's basically it for the torso of the outfit, leaving just 2 more items to go over, with the next one definitely being the coolest part. When the Skybound sets first launched, all of the ninja featured this brand new one-shoulder armor piece, which of course meant I had to find a way to recreate this armor piece to actually be wearable by a human being. This was no doubt one of the more stressful and complicated elements of the cosplay. I had several different ideas on how to do this. The first was to simply purchase one of these pre-made armor pieces and paint it gold, but it wouldn't be completely accurate. Then, as you can see in the terrible drawings I made, I had the idea of using a belt slung across my chest with the armor pad mounted on top. I actually really like this design, as it certainly gave it a more realistic and rustic look, just like this amazing fan art by RR Pro Annie on DeviantArt. By the way, never look up Ninjago on DeviantArt. Worst mistake of my entire life. I decided against this design, however, as the belt would have gotten in the way of the Airjitsu symbol. So with those 2 ideas shot and killed, I found out about this magical invention called elastic fabric. Grabbing the hot glue gun, I glued some of this stretchy fabric into a loop that was able to be worn over my shoulder. For the actual shoulder pad itself, I handed the large amount of foam back over to a friend who, once again, perfectly replicated the shape of the actual Lego piece, and after a few coats of gold paint, the armor pad was ready to be hot glued to the makeshift stretchy fabric. With the shoulder pad basically finished, it left me with a whole lot of extra foam which I genuinely have no idea what to do with. So if anyone watching wants some foam, go get your own, man, this is mine. I feel like maybe the hot glue wasn't the best idea for the shoulder pad. As you can see in this image, it was literally being held together on a wish and a prayer. It felt like every time I put it on, I risked breaking it off. So just like the eye patch, I didn't wear it for the majority of day 2. For the final touch of the outfit, I donned a pair of black fingerless gloves, because they are just straight up awesome. Well, maybe not on me. And with that, the Skybound Jay cosplay is finished. I basically had this whole thing done like a month before the event itself, so for a month I was just staring at it as it was hung up on the back of my door. It kinda felt like that one scene of Spider-Man 2, with Peter just looking at the Spider-Man suit in his closet, while everything else was tossed into a box in the corner of my room. I like to call it my little cosplay corner. A waste of space would be a more appropriate name. Lego, if you ever need somebody to make the inevitable live-action Ninjago suits, don't call me, I've done a terrible job. I'm not exactly sure how much it cost me to create this masterpiece, so if I manage to add up all the costs, I'll go ahead and put it on the screen now, just so you guys can know how much effort and money I pour into this content for you lot. I just want to quickly add that I was very close to actually slitting my eyebrow, but then I realized I'd have to live with that for like a month, and knowing my dumbass, I'd slit the wrong eyebrow. So now, all there's left to cover is the actual convention itself, which you're really gonna want to stick around for, as a few unexpected guests will appear, like maybe another Ninjago Jay cosplay. You'll just have to continue watching to find out. Here I was just outside the convention center itself, where the weekend's main event would be taking place, Comic-Con, or as Lord Garmadon would say,
Come-Icon.
After getting into the queue, I had to endure an almost 2-hour-long wait in the pouring rain, with my only source of entertainment being this advert for the Blue Beetle movie, which actually just gave me a terrible realization. This event was held back in 2017, in August, 1 month before the Ninjago movie released. So does that mean there was Ninjago movie marketing all over this place back then? I shudder just thinking about this poster plastered all over the place. As soon as I was granted entry to the building, it was time to hustle up the escalators to the changing room to become Skybound Jay. What, did you seriously think I'd walk down the streets wearing this thing? That's just asking to be mugged, or approached by a 4-armed djinn. Now that I was all kitted out in my Wish.com version of Skybound Jay, it was time to begin exploring the con itself, beginning at the ground floor and making my way up. The bottom floor is basically just all stands full with all different kind of expensive merch. One stand had a bunch of replica weapons, but unfortunately there were no sort of sanctuaries or other Ninjago items. But that doesn't mean there wasn't any Lego. Well, technically there wasn't, as this booth was just a bunch of fake bootlegs. They didn't even have any Ninjago bootlegs, so what was even the point? Near that stand, there was a bunch of foreign snacks, which, again, left me disappointed, as there was no Ninjago Vietnamese cheese. By far the coolest part of the ground floor was this little Ghostbusters themed corner, even featuring an exact replica of the Ecto-1. Can't help but feel that maybe a Jaywalker 1 could have looked better. It's literally the Ninjago Ecto-1, so why not? They easily could have changed all of this to be Ronin's pawn shop. Star Wars nerds weren't being left out, as rolling around there was an actually real R2-D2, which, might I add, would have been cooler if it were a TIE-D, just saying. Marvel fans are also being catered to, with this life-size Thanos throne photo op. If you ask me, a Chen's chair replica would have fit better. And then there was this stand. I know they did not have any Ninjago body pillows, I asked. I felt pretty disappointed with the lack of Ninjago content on the ground floor, so with a heavy sigh I headed to the stairs to go up a floor, something that will soon come to haunt me. The next floor is where all of the special guests were signing and taking photos, with the most interesting guest for me being Veronica Taylor, the original English voice actor of Ash Ketchum, so you know I have to get a Pokeball signed by her. Speaking of the guests, I'm really kicking myself because back in the March event, Nolan North, mostly known as Nathan Drake, attended. Why is this important to say, you might ask? Well, Nolan North actually played Kai in the Ninjoids game, along with Karloff in LEGO Dimensions. I technically could have gotten my copy of the pilots, signed by both Kai and Karloff, and that has haunted me for months. Meeting Veronica Taylor, who voiced a huge part of my childhood, really makes me wish for some of the Ninjago voice actors to attend this event, I mean, hey, if they can get the voice actor for Mickey Mouse, they can surely at least get Brent Miller. Please LEGO, let the Ninjago voice actors attend the 2024 events, please. I'll only creep them out a little bit. Just right beside the special guests area was the Artist's Alley, and that was where the sacred LEGO stand was, selling actually official LEGO. I just had to soy in front of it. To the left of the LEGO booth, they had this little table displaying some really cool mocks, a Paper Mario portrait, a very shiny silver Millennium Falcon, and another Millennium Falcon, which looked like it just got the superstar power up. Unfortunately, I will have to dock points for no Ninjago mocks. They also had this nice area to build your own little mosaic, and of course somebody had to make an Among Us and loss. But that's not what you care about. You care about what LEGO goodies are for sale, right? Well, prepare to be disappointed. First, we have all of the sets, which are pretty standard stuff that was mostly still on shelves. They even had a set or two from the LEGO house, which I actually visited earlier this year. Felt kind of illegal seeing them here. Copying actual LEGO stores, they had these boxes full of random minifigure pieces you could use to create your own minifigures. The booth was also full to the brim with all these European exclusive magazine gifts and random poly bags. And yes, that did include a Chima poly bag, which if you ask me, should have been given away for free. Seriously, what in the world am I actually paying for here? But the most important part of this booth to me were the minifigures. Back in March, I was able to buy the Spider-Man figure exclusive to the very large and expensive Sanctum Sanctorum, so I was really hoping to strike gold again. I even made a little list of some figures I was hoping to buy, being the remaining few Dragons Rising figures I needed to complete the collection, being Zane, Sora, Aaron, Ryu, and Rapton, because there's no way in hell I'm paying the outrageous price for Sora's mech bike, whatever the hell it's called, noting down the average bricklink price for each of them. The minifigure selection this time around was pretty disappointing. There was barely any new figures, and the majority of them were overpriced as hell. Who in their right mind would pay €7 for the goddamn sushi chef from the Ninjago movie CMF? The only Dragons Rising figure they had was Kai, which, as I already owned, did not interest me at all. Guess I'll have to use Bricklink to complete the collection. Just as I was heading out of the Artist's Alley feeling defeated, I just so happened to spot another cosplay in the corner of my eye. Another Jay cosplay. Cue to Spider-Man pointing me. I genuinely was so surprised that this happened. Never would I have thought I would have found another Ninjago cosplay, but here I was, standing beside another like-minded individual with incredible taste. Their cosplay was like an actual LEGO figure, just like this one here, but designed to look like Zukin Jay, really making me feel like a bootleg Jay with how good it was. After coming face to face with myself, I decided it was a good time for a break, taking a load off and relaxing by reading some fine literature, being an issue of the Ninjago manga. Yeah, that's right, I own an issue of the Ninjago manga. I am the superior virgin. Now with my brain enlarged by whatever the hell this is, I began making my way to the very top floor of this very tall building, which was certainly a challenge, as halfway through the first day, these damn boots started to really hurt my left foot. Maybe the split toe design wasn't the best idea. But I powered through, because Ninja never quit. Also, if I had another crying breakdown, I would have been kicked out. See, I go through a lot of pain for these videos, so you better subscribe. Finally reaching the very top of the convention center, I was once again greeted by the sight of a bunch of bootleg LEGO. But I wouldn't dare say that to the guy running the stand, as he looked like he could kick my ass. Which, admittedly is not that hard to do, but he looked like he could do it really well. And after that, it was pretty much a wrap for day 1. A pretty fun day, I'd have to say. Best part was definitely running into another Jay cosplay. Now before I begin day 2, if anyone is actually still watching, I'm going to quickly remind you that the subscribe button does indeed exist, and it would be totally ninja of you to click on it. Please. I publicly humiliated myself in a Ninjago Skybound Jay cosplay for this. I think I deserve it. Day 2 was off to a great start, as the first thing I did was get a photo shoot with Veronica Taylor, Ash Ketchum and Ninjago Jay in one photo. Who would have guessed? Sometime after that, I decided to entertain myself with the Ninjago DS game, only to remember how boring it was, switching it out for a real man's game. After my little bit of video gaming, I headed over to attend the content creator panel, because God knows I need it, before what I consider the best part of the entire convention happened. I managed to run into a whole group of LEGO Monkey Kid cosplayers, 7 in total, with 2 cosplaying as May, a Red Sun, and the rest all being different versions of Monkey Kid himself. All of the cosplays are fantastic, with 2 of the MKs even having prop staffs, along with one of the Mays having this really cool sword ripped right out of the show. I had no idea that Monkey Kid had this big of a fanbase. Your days are numbered. Thank God I didn't run into any Nexon Knights or Chima cosplays. I would have committed arson. And so the little LEGO themed cosplay get together, day 2 and this video as a whole has reached its end. Certainly a very different kind of video for sure. Don't worry, the regular disembodied voice videos will continue and will be the only type of content going forward. I just thought this could have been a nice little fun video to do, bringing Ninjago to life in the form of a cosplay. Attending this con now makes me really want the Ninjago themed convention. I know there are 1,000 LEGO conventions all across the globe, but that is just not enough. Just imagine the Ninjago park from Legoland, but multiplied by 100. Everything and everywhere will look ripped right out of Ninjago. I guess we can maybe give Monkey Kid a corner too. Next, Knights and Chima can have the bathroom, I guess. Actually, that's too generous, give them the parking lot. If you're old enough, you can just imagine the long lost Minecon, but everything replaced with Ninjago decorations. A giant cardboard monastery spinjitzu crammed into a warehouse would be awesome. I'm honestly not even sure what to do with my cosplay now that this whole thing is over. An idea I have is getting one of these frames and framing it, or just straight up get a mannequin and display it on one of those. It would be a real shame to spend so much time and money on this to just wear it for 2 days. From now on, for every new Ninjago release, I will wear this cosplay. Heck, I'm probably wearing it right now while editing this video. Will I make another Ninjago cosplay? Probably not. This already cost a lot of time and money and was very stressful to put together. So I think I'll just be happy with my one Skybound Jay cosplay. Either that, or I'll just use an easier design to make, like Casual Jay, or Prison Jay, or Nude Jay. Actually no one wants to see that. I would say I had a good time at the con. Getting to meet so many like-minded individuals was definitely the highlight of the 2-day event. And of course, having my very own Skybound Jay outfit is a plus. A lot of people also surprisingly recognized the cosplay, with one person even asking for a photo. So if you're that one person watching this video, I am so sorry. This will for sure let everyone know that I'm the #1 Skybound fan. Also, I'm pretty sure this counts as a tax write-off.